Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei is son of Sparda and Eva? Part 12. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. In the shadows of Kuo town, a young red-haired woman was observing the town as she looked to the gates of hell. This woman seemed to be of a foreign nature as she observed the gate of hell, as her tanned skin made it known she was not of the Gremory household. On her person were twin daggers as she crawled to get a better view of the situation as she saw Irina leave the bar as the woman looked. Situation far more dire than first understood, possible spy within the Vatican. The woman said as she looked upon Irina. More observation is required. She said as the white-robed woman then left as if one looked at her, they would swear she was an angel in disguise. Meanwhile at Kuo Academy, Issei and Asia were walking through the halls as Issei made sure to look past the walls with a mirror and saw no one approaching. As Issei walked, Asia was concerned for her master as she looked to him. "Issei, are you okay?" she asked as Issei looked. "White Asia. I'm being hunted," Issei said as Asia was wide-eyed. "What, by who?" Asia asked as Issei quickly covered her mouth. "Well, when your twin brother is one of the super hunks of the school and being as you're related to him, your popularity takes a huge leap forward," Issei whispered as Asia was starting to get it. "So basically the girls now want to be my friends to get close or find out information on Kisk's likes and interests," Issei said as now Asia understood. "It must be fun having a brother," Asia said as she was an only child and orphan herself. Issei was soon hit by the mental image of him stabbing Kisk in the chest in the ruins of Limbo City before they went their separate ways. "Yeah, fun," Issei said as the mental image left. "Okay, coast is clear, we might make it to our next class before any fangirls show up," Issei said as he looked to Asia. "And hopefully we can meet up with Saji soon," Issei thought as unbeknown to Issei Kaneko was watching him having a hunch as to what he was planning. Scene break after school cafe. Issei, Asia, and Ika met up at the cafe as they waited for their 4 and their merry band to show up. "Yo Hyoudou, Kiryu, Asia-chan, I'm here," Saji called as he looked to the trio of Nephilim. "So you wanted to meet?" he asked as Issei looked. "Yeah, I have a bit of a favor I need to ask you," Issei said as Saji was curious. One explanation later. "Are you nuts?" Saji called as he stood up as he then quickly sat down as he didn't want to cause a scene. "Are you loco or something, because if we go after that holy sword then my president will murder me," Saji said as Issei looked. "Hey, you forget Nephilim all the devil strengths, none of the weaknesses," Issei countered as he held a cross in his hand for good measure, causing Saji to edge back. "Besides, I need you for your sacred gear. I would have asked Tsubaki for some backup, but as you may or may not already know, she's currently out of the question due to her closeness to Sona and the fact Sona is the current Leviathan's younger sister," Issei said as he was trying to play it smart and keep the attention off himself. "Also, if you're worried about our prez, then you should know since Issei is her master, one word from him and we get off scot-free if we provide a good enough reason," Ika said as she adjusted her glasses. "Yeah, that's true, but Sona is fucking draconian and loves punishing us," Saji called in fear as Issei sighed. "I can have Riaz talk her down to keep her from punishing you, or I can shoot her," Issei said as the last part was to himself. "No way, man, sorry," Saji called as he then began to take his leave, but he soon found he wasn't going anywhere, as if some force had stopped him in place while he walked. The four looked and saw Kaneko there as she was eating a large sundae as Asia smiled. "Kaneko," Asia called as she looked to Kaneko. "Big surprise, I figured you would try and run away," Kaneko said as Saji was in a tight pinch now. "Later, here, Issei," Kaneko said as she passed to Issei the Caliburn tracker as Issei checked it out. "Rodin finished whipping this up this morning and Riaz sent me after school to pick it up and bring it to you," Kaneko said as Issei nodded. "Okay, that's good," Issei said as Kaneko grabbed Saji to keep him from running away. "Though I get the feeling we'll need Kibo also if we're going after the holy swords, seeing that he has prior knowledge to this whole thing and the sword birth sacred gear of his," Kaneko said as she forced Saji to sit down. "Yeah, and since I have a mole in the Vatican through Irina, we can track them down no problem for some aid," Issei said as he knew Kisk will hate it, and honestly so would Issei, but they need Zenovia's help in this, even if she no longer has her holy sword. "But where are we supposed to find them if they aren't in the gates of hell?" Kaneko asked as she looked to Issei, knowing the two wouldn't stay there for long. "Trust me, I know where to find them. Irina is hard to miss even in Kuo town," Issei said as he walked ahead to find his wayward friend. "What makes you say that?" Ika asked as Issei smirked as he stopped and turned to the group. "That," Issei said as he pointed behind him with his thumb to show Irina and an all healed up Zenovia asking for charity as a child, pointed at them as he, Ika and Asia saw the brood shard glowing with Issei's and Irina's hidden shard as they needed money for their time here. Later at the gates of hell. Insert Bayonetta Ost gates of hell. The group were now back at the gates of hell as Zenovia and Irina were helping themselves to the dishes of Rodin's menu as Rodin was washing some glasses. "I detest having to return here," Zenovia said as she ate the food prepared by a fallen angel. But this is delicious, oh good lord, please forgive this humble servant for accepting the food of a fallen angel. Zenobia said as Irina kept eating. Less talking, more eating. Irina said as Issei looked. My word, can they eat that much, and will your wallet survive this? Asia asked looking to Issei. Don't worry, the sky's the limit, just put it on Enzo's tab. Issei said as Enzo, who was snoozing nearby, was shocked as he fell out of his chair. What? The fat Italian called as he already had Ria's using his tab for her own gains. Not like Enzo is going to ever pay off that tab. Aika said with a smile on her face, seeing the Italian's reaction. Later, now then. Zenobia began as she glared at Issei, as she was still sour about Kisk taking her Excalibur and walking off with it. What really ticked her off was that apparently Kisk is able to use it even better than she was, if he was able to hold it so easily and swing it like it was a simple long sword. What did you want to talk to us about, son of Eva? Zenobia said as Issei crossed his arms. For starters, my name is Issei the Stray Killer, don't compare me to my mother. Issei began as he was still sore about what Zenobia said about his mother. Second, we want to make a deal. Issei said as Zenobia glared. What? You'd think I'd make a deal with a devil? Zenobia asked as Issei smirked. Sure you would, especially if that devil is Sparda's son and part angel to boot. Issei said as Zenobia saw Issei's logic there, even if he made it sound like he pulled that one out of his ass. But you want something out of this, don't you? Zenobia asked as Issei smirked. Right, you are Zenobia, without your holy sword you're basically defenseless, but I know how to track holy swords. Issei said, showing the holy sword tracker as it showed a map of Kuo town and the dots where the holy swords were located. Zenobia looked ready to take it before Issei snatched it. See, here's the deal, we help you located the opposing side, and in return you give us the Excaliburs and Caliburn, and tell your Vatican they were destroyed. Don't care of the story you use, but my point is make it so they don't question what really happened. Issei said as Zenobia glared. You expect me to lie to the church that easily? Zenobia demanded as she didn't seem pleased with that. Oh, it won't be a total lie, the knockoffs would be taken care of, and the Caliburn will be in more capable hands. Issei said as Zenobia glared but in turn conceded. Very well. Zenobia said as Irina looked surprised. Wow, Issei, you've gotten smarter over the years. Irina said as Issei smirked. Also, one last thing, when we face the bastard who took Caliburn and Kakabiel, leave those fuckers to me and Kisk. We may not get along, but those assholes had gotten away with desecrating my mom's grave for her sword and murdered her, so if anyone has a right to end them, it's us. Issei said as Zenobia understood. Besides, when it comes to mom, it's the only thing me and Kisk see eye to eye in. Issei said as Zenobia understood. The mother's love for her children is strong, but the children's love for their mother is just as strong if nurtured right. She thought to herself as she saw the mistake she made against Kisk, which lost her the sword of destruction. I understand, son of Eva, we shall assist as best we can then. Zenobia said as Issei nodded. You're going to need something to protect yourself then, little lady. Rodin said, dropping a large sword onto the table after clearing the empty plates. Not much, but it was short notice, and don't worry, it's on the house, as long as you advertise the gates of hell. Rodin said as Zenobia looked at it. Forged it myself and used holy water to purify it, not exactly a holy sword, but a close second. Rodin said as Zenobia looked at the large claymore-like sword. It will have to do, I suppose. Zenobia said as she still needed to beat Kisk to get the sword of destruction back. Okay then, let's go find us a Kiba, we can't have him be astray forever. Issei said as he got up with his gear in hand. And Ost, scene break that afternoon fountain area. Yo Kiba. Issei called as Kiba glared at Zenobia. What do you want? Kiba asked as Issei smirked. Oh, your help in hunting down the ones responsible for all these stray priests. Issei said as Kiba looked and saw Zenobia. It's really disappointing to see a priest working with an alleged slave whore's son. Kiba said as he didn't forget what Zenobia had called Eva. I will confess what I had said at the time was out of line. Zenobia said as she then pulled out her stand and sword. But if I'm not mistaken, you did leave the Grimmery household of your own volition, making you a stray devil. Zenobia said as Issei pointed ebony at Zenobia. Hey, remember you're on my turf, and since I'm in charge of this hunt I say what we do. Issei said as he looked to Kiba. Look Kiba, we all know what you lost. I had Rodin do some digging the guy year after he was excommunicated and has freed helping him, so we each have a stake in this, they're after him to bring him to justice. Issei said pointing to Zenobia and Irina. I'm after him to get my mom's sword back and avenge her death with his boss, and you're after him because of your own revenge. We all have a bone to pick with this fucker, so it's probably better if we all work together than try and solo it like Kisk. Issei said as Kiba looked. I know his name. Kiba began as he looked. His name is Galilei Valper. Kiba said as Issei looked. The Archbishop of Annihilation, Mom told me about him a few years back. The guy has an obsession with her when she worked with the Grigori a couple times, her and the Excalibur she wielded. Issei said as he knew that guy, or at least heard of him. It would explain how he got the sword and robbed her grave for it. Issei said as he knew the man literally got off of his mom's story. If memory is right, he also had this friend named Arkham at one point, don't know where he vanished to thought. Issei thought as he thought on it. Okay, then we know who to look for then and where to hit him. Issei said as he held the Excalibur tracker. Okay, then this is some good news, and Saji, remember Nephilim are neutral parties for this, so no one will ever be able to confirm a war between the church and the devils if a Nephilim is involved. Issei said with a smirk. Plus Rodin can cover up for us, so we are in the clear. Issei said as Saji looked ready to protest. But Issei began as he looked. I get it, those knockoffs exist because of your friend's sacrifice. Issei began as he can already tell the story. But that sword Caliburn holds my mother's soul in it, at least figuratively. I know you want to destroy it, but those counterfeits were shaved off of the real Excalibur through Caliburn. I need to gather them all to make it, so my mother is whole again. Issei said as he clenched his fist. If any of those cores are destroyed, the sword will react very violently because of that fact, so I need to find them all and take that sword back. Issei said as he looked to Kiba. My mother died, protect me and Kisk, and I buried that sword with her, and the fact the church desecrated her final resting place for that sword, it's something I can never forgive. Issei said as Kiba looked to Issei. I'll help. Kaneko said as she looked to the two. I won't let Kisk get his hands of Excalibur even if it is his birthright. Kaneko said as Issei looked. She's with him, so I won't let her be close to such a sword. Kaneko said, referring to her sister before looking to Issei with a look that states she wanted something from Issei. Besides, if you two died, I'd be sad that you are no longer with us, and sad that Rias would become a stray Nephilim. Kaneko said as Aika and Asia smiled. This is beautiful and all, but we still need to get going to start the search. Aika said as Asia nodded to that. Yeah, we each have a stake on this. Asia said as Issei nodded. Well, I guess I can't stop you, not like I have any chance of stopping a Nephilim to begin with. Kiba said as Issei nodded. Then it's decided, in the cliché saying, all for one and one for all. Issei said as he looked to his friends. Scene break that night. Kisk was continuing his search as he held the sword of destruction Excalibur. As for him, luckily Arthur was a wizard with his craft as he constructed the first batch of tracers. Kisk pointed his Excalibur fake around as he saw it resonate and glow before looking sorts of direction and saw it glow brighter. I have a trail right now. Kisk began as he used the communication magic. All of you scout around the areas and see if we have any other trails or possible decoys. Cat use astral projection to scout on ahead. Understood. Kisk said as everyone got it. Nodded yes sir, understood. They all called before the cut the link for now. Mother, Kisk said looking at the counterfeit. Soon you'll be whole once again. Kisk said as he looked at the sword. Soon Kisk saw a summoning appear before him as he cursed his luck as he saw it was from Azazel as the white dragon Nephilim cursed, seeing it said urgent. Of all the times Azazel. Kisk growled as Azazel better have a good reason for calling him up. But Issei later that night, the abandoned church. The group arrived to find they were all gathered as Issei looked to his 3 brood members, Ria's 2 peerage members, Sona's 1 peerage members, and Zenobia from the church. Okay then, everyone ready? Issei asked as everyone nodded. Okay, let's suit up. Issei said as Zenobia and Irina held their disguised. But Azazel, seems dear old Aika couldn't make it today. Azazel said as he got the call from Aika saying she couldn't make it. Of course she is currently hunting down the Excalibur, which might I remind you Azazel you have gotten in the way of. Kisk said as he landed and called off Albion's wings. This better be important Azazel, otherwise I can't promise you a quick death. Kisk said to the Grigori leader. Oh, it's nothing big mind you, it's just a message I feel you really need to hear. Azazel said as Kisk glared. Go on. Kisk said as Azazel sighed. The seal Sparda placed on Mundus on Mallet Island, it's breaking. Azazel said as he looked to Kisk. The fact the demonic power of Mundus Lucifer is beginning to gather at Mallet Island is proof of that. Azazel said as Kisk was wide-eyed ever so slightly before he smirked. I see, well, if my father could defeat Mundus so can I, except I will finish the job. Kisk said as Azazel sighed. Nah, not yet Kisk, your power isn't up to par, yet you'll need to access your stage 3 trigger before being a match for him. Azazel said as he then sighed. But just so you know, Red Dragon won't like you taking his revenge away from him, so heads up. Azazel said as Kisk then looked. You have more to tell. Kisk asked as Azazel nodded. Yeah, before Mundus awakens, though you can bet your ass Eubelos is on her way already. Azazel said as Kisk then smirked. I see, very well then, you wish for me to inform my brother then. Kisk asked as Azazel waved him off. Do what you want kid, it's up to you. Azazel said, causing Kisk to nod before he took his leave. Meanwhile at the church, once everyone was suited up, Issei stretched a bit. Okay then, any ideas how we're doing this? Issei asked as he looked to Irina and Zenobia. Since a majority of you have sacred gears, it's only fair that we divide into 2 teams. Zenobia said as Issei nodded. Okay then, we'll handle the east part of town, you all handle the west part. Issei said as Zenobia nodded. Understood, if any of you run into trouble call the cell. Zenobia said as Issei nodded. Got it. Issei said as they were dressed as priests. Good then, and we appreciate what you have done for us, son of Sparda, and I do intend to return the favor one day. But I also appreciate the favor of taking to get my injuries treated, so I shall repay you for that one. Zenobia said as Issei nodded. Aika was it, the unified dragon empress? Zenobia began as he looked to Aika. Yeah? Aika asked as Zenobia looked. The empty dragon has awoken, and with it so is its chosen dragon emperor. Be ready for when he or she appears. Zenobia said as Aika was shocked and confused. Well, you were a bitch at first, but you saw the error of what you said, and you want to repay me hooking you up with a place to crash, so I can't fault you there. Issei said as Zenobia nodded. Meanwhile, with Sparda's peerage, the Beowulf stumbled into the Sparda peerage's normal meeting spot, as soon two of the Cerberus trio caught him, as they each had their peerage piece shining on their chest. You too? Beowulf asked as he looked to his longtime ally and friend. More like all of us. Neven was hurt as she was helped by Issei and Rudra as they walked to their meeting point. So we're all turning? Beowulf asked as this was very much a problem. Yes, it won't be long till we're forced into our triggered forms as complete stray devils. Issei said as he was having trouble keeping his human form. So what now? Cerberus Alpha said as Omega and Beta had similar thoughts. We have no choice, Neven said as she looked to the group. We need to become devil arms to Issei, Kisk, and the select members of their brood. Neven said as she walked away a bit. That seems like the best option for us all. Cerberus Alpha said as he looked to his fellow peerage members. So this is how it all ends, this is the end of the road Sparda walked with us on. Beowulf said as they all nodded. Best we get our final send-offs handled. Have you each decided on who goes to who? Beowulf asked as Neven nodded. Yes, I'll be entrusting my business and my soul to Aika. I really like her, though that massive sword Rodin gave her doesn't suit her. Neven said as she walked a bit. Then we shall go to Ravel, she's the best option to use our flames and winds. Rudra said as Issei nodded in agreement. I'll go for the little cat girl. Cerberus said as everyone looked to him. What she needs to get over her fear of canines, and besides, I can't think of anyone better than her who can utilize my power. Cerberus said as they understood that. I had decided a long time ago, Kisk shall be entrusted with my soul. I made a promise to Sparda, and this is the best way I can keep it. Beowulf said as he held his scared eye, knowing he made that promise during the war when he joined Sparda. Then it's decided, huh? Neven said as she sighed. Well, let's go to Rodin's one last drink before our last goodbyes. Neven said as they all agreed. Here. Cerberus called as this was possibly going to be their final drink. But how long do we have? Beowulf asked as he looked to the others. Well, if we don't overexert our powers, then hopefully we'll stay sane long enough for the parent day at Kuo Academy. Neven said as that would be good for them then. One last family day with Issei and Kisk till they have to say goodbye. Meanwhile, with Devil May Cry abandoned building. Hey, I know this place. Issei said as they entered the area. Yeah, this is where we took on that stray devil with a bone to pick with me. Issei said as he looked around. Oh yeah, you hunt strays for a living. Saji said as he walked in. Issei then took out his tracker and saw a new blip on the map as he smirked. Guys, we're not alone. Issei called as he looked to the roof, as did Kiba, as on it was Fried. Issei then took out Ebony and Ivory as Fried laughed and jumped down before Issei shot at Fried with his guns, causing him to be caught off guard as Fried was hit by a flurry of bullets, keeping him airborne for a bit before he let up, allowing Fried to fell down hard. Now that was unfair, thank God that I had protective layers on. Fried said as he got up. But now God will strike you down for shooting his devoted follower. Fried called as Issei sighed. Yeah, and your wildest dreams, Dumbus. Issei said as he looked to Fried. So you got a new sword for that core to replace the one you lost, right? Issei taunted as Fried glared. How do you know that? Fried asked as Issei simply pointed to Kiba. So punk, you wanna go or do you wanna try and run so we can chase you down? Issei taunted as he looked to Fried. I'll fight you, son of a whore angel. Fried taunted as Issei glared. Insert Devil May Cry 3 Ost. Taste the blood. Tibble, let me start things off here. When you see a chance, take it. Issei said before charging at Fried. Come on. Issei called as he charged at Fried with his sword at the ready. Fried blocked the attack with his Excalibur as Issei smirked before he spun around the sword and gave a kick to Fried's face. Lift off. Issei called out as he sent Fried skyward before he switched to his guns. Fried then smirked and began running at high speed as Issei growled as he felt his body get cut up. What's wrong? Nephilim can't keep up. Maybe you aren't as powerful as the story said. Fried taunted as Issei growled, but then made a hidden smirk. Soon Fried was blindsided by Kiba as Issei smirked. Got you there, didn't he? Fried Issei taunted as Fried growled. Aika? Issei called as Aika looked. Yeah, she called as Issei smirked. Combo my boosted gear with Saji's. Issei called as Saji looked shocked. Wait, what? Saji called as Aika nodded. Got it. Aika called as her sacred gear appeared on her torso. Combination. Her gear invoked before the chest crystal glowed. Boosted gear. Myoryu invoked as he sent an energy arm at Issei and took part of his boosted gear. Plus. It invoked as Saji was wide-eyed as his gear came out on its own as the boosted gear symbol appeared on Aika's left shoulder. "Wait, why are you out?" he called as he didn't call it out. Absorption line. Myoryu invoked as Saji was shocked when he felt the arm reach into him and pull out a small shard of his gear while the absorption line symbol appeared on Aika's right shoulder. Gatai. Myoryu invoked as the combination began with the two symbol merging into one at the chest area. Power transfer line. Myoryu invoked as armor appeared on Aika's left arm, forming into a combo of the boosted gear and the absorption line. "Okay, double up Aika and then send the power to Kiba." Issei called as he removed the priest outfit as did the others. "I'll go for the big prize." Issei called as unaware to them all the same red-haired girl from before was watching them from the shadows while holding herbs to hide her scent. "We'll hold the line here, Issei." Aika called as she boosted. Boost. Myoryu invoked as the power doubled for her. Issei then ran into the building, making sure Kiba kept Freed busy as he ran in after his prize. Unknown to them, the red-haired girl followed close behind after Issei. And Ost. Inside the building, Issei saw a lab set up here as Issei saw it was recently used as he held ebony and ivory at the ready. "Okay fucker, how about you show yourself?" Issei called out as he looked around for his target. "If you don't, I'll tear this place apart myself." Issei said as she shot up some beakers releasing their contents. Soon he heard footsteps as he looked and saw the man he was looking for. "So you're Galilei Valper, man, you're just as creepy as an old pervert, like my mom said." Issei said as he pointed his guns at the priest. "So the son of Sparda and Eva, I've heard stories about you and your brother at the church before my unwarranted excommunication." Galilei said as Issei glared at him. "Yeah, oh woe is me, I was kicked out for my fucked up methods in the Holy Sword Project and killing off the innocent test subjects." Issei acted as a taunting way as he then glared at Galilei. "You had this coming, fucker, but first hand over my mother's sword, otherwise I won't promise you a chance to get away." Issei called as he glared at Galilei. "Oh, you mean this?" he asked as he pulled the sword off from a box as Issei recognized it as the Excalibur mimic resonated to it. Yes, the caliber and the key to locating where Eva had hidden her sword. The Excalibur, not like the church, will acknowledge Eva was Excalibur's true wielder. The man said as Issei glared at him. "Hand it over, fucker, I won't tell you again." Issei called as he glared at him. "My apologies, but you will be a bit preoccupied," he said before he snapped his fingers, causing a large cage in a tarp to burst open as Issei looked, and to his shock, he saw the guard dog of Purgatory. "Insert Bayonetta Ost Angel Descend B. Say hello to one of my guard dogs here, young Nephilim, a second sphere if I'm not mistaken." Galilei said as Issei was wide-eyed at what he saw. The creature released flames from its person as Issei was lucky he had Hades to summon as it roared at Issei before it released a fireball at Issei, who quickly dodged it. This was the second sphere virtue. Fairness, and by the looks of it, it was very pissed off. And Ost. Insert DMC Devil May Cry Ost. Tic-tac. "Okay, this just brings up the question of where the fuck did you get this thing?" Issei called as the stray angel then charged at Issei before he jumped out of the way just in time as it roared at him. "Nothing you should concern yourself with, after all it has friends." Galilei said as two more came out followed by three more, resulting in a total of 6. "Wow, didn't see that coming." Issei said as he saw them all stalk towards him. "Now then, I'll see you soon." Galilei said as he began to take his leave with Caliburn in hand. "Fuck." Issei cursed as he began fighting his way through the pack of fairness. As Issei began fighting his way, his main focus was getting Caliburn back, but these fuckers won't let up on him. Soon Hades was heard as the Hellhound jumped in and began assisting his master, but even together against a pack of stray angel attack dogs, they were getting a bit outgunned. As Issei fired his way, Galilei smiled as he knew Issei won't be walking out of this so easily. Hades roared as he charged at a stray angel and began to bite into its neck, causing its blood to leak out, not doubt giving it a real pain in the neck. Issei charged and with Revenant shot another stray in the face, damaging its armor as Issei smirked at his victory to come. "Come on, is that all you posers got?" Issei taunted before one charged at him, causing him to dodge before another came out and fired a fireball at Issei, causing him to dodge. "Fuck." Issei called as he then was knocked down by another before it began to try and maul him, which Issei used Revenant at point-blank range, causing the stray serious harm. And Ost. Soon the excommunicated priest Galilei felt a blade of a dagger like Chris to his neck as he was wide-eyed as he looked and saw a young woman with tanned skin and red hair as she glared at Galilei. "You shall call off your stray angels from Lord Sparda, otherwise I cannot ensure you will live long," the woman said as Galilei saw the woman's eyes glow red, showing she was a devil. "Wow, who's the babe?" Issei called before he avoided an attack. "You're bluffing," he called as she then slid his neck across his neck deep enough to draw blood. "Not in the slightest, sir. I was tasked to protect Lord Sparda, and if you don't not call them off I will be sure to destroy your research papers while I'm at it," she threatened as the German accent was heavy on her voice. "Try if you must, these stray angels will defend me." He said as one smelled his blood and quickly acted, but Issei then smirked as he then went at the others before swinging Osiris around him and quickly turned it into Arbiter, allowing the momentum of the swing to hit all the goes at once, wiping them out. Now buddy about my mother's sword. Issei growled as the man then got Caliburn to graze the woman's skin, making her go wide-eyed and hiss in pain as she was forced to let go, allowing Galilei to escape. Shit. Issei called as he ran outside to find Fried hitting away Kiba's sword berth as Fried noticed Galilei. "Old man, what took you so long?" Fried asked as he looked. "Fried, your use of holy swords can use a touch-up." He began as he saw Fried's leg was caught in Saji's absorption line. "Can you hurry up and get me off this lizard tongue?" Fried called as Issei and his new friend were snuck up upon by more of the stray angels just as they exited. "It's simple, channel your power into the blade and cutting it should be no problem," Galilei said as Issei glared at him. "Oh, is that so?" Fried said before he did just that with the blade now glowing gold before he cut through it. "Okay, so I have 3 little devils I can kill, 1 Nephilim witch and 2 other Nephilim on my kill list." Fried called as he smiled insanely before out of nowhere, Fried had to block another attack before it was revealed to be Kisk with the holy sword he got from Zenobia. Kisk then roared out as he then pushed Fried away as Fried was shocked just as Zenobia and Irina arrived. Who the fuck are you?" Fried demanded as he glared as Kisk who glared at him seeing an annoying bug before him. "So both sons of Eva and Sparda have made themselves known," Galilei said as Kisk glared as Zenobia and Irina arrived as well as Zenobia charged at Fried aiding Kisk. "And with him the Nephilim and her priest friend who has been chasing me all over Europe," Galilei said as Irina was wide-eyed as Zenobia was caught off guard. "What lies do you speak, Galilei?" Zenobia began as Irina had ditched her cloak. "The proof is on her wrist," Galilei said began as Zenobia spared a glance and saw the Nephilim crystal on her wrist. "That girl was a spy in the Vatican from day one. She has been working with the Nephilim before she even arrived," Galilei said as Issei's crystal glowed as did the others of his brood in the area as Zenobia was shocked. "Oh yeah, I remember her now, she was the bitch who nearly ruined my face," Fried said as he saw Irina who was now caught. Irina, Zenobia said as she looked to her friend as she looked to her with a face filled with betrayal. "Wait Zenobia, let me explain," Irina said as she looked to her friend. "What is there to explain?" Kisk said as he didn't seem bothered. "You are a member of Issei's brood and had been a member since your childhood," Kisk said as Zenobia were shocked. Fried and Galilei were soon surrounded as Issei cursed as he didn't know Fried and Galilei were aware of Irina as he now just lost a spy in the Vatican to compromise. "Shut up," Irina roared out in rage as she let her emotions get the better of her as she summoned Susanoo and switched to its vendetta form and slammed down at Fried, who then smiled before it switched to the form mimic, causing Fried to go wide-eyed as the Excalibur was shattered once more, leaving behind its core which shined brightly in the presence of Caliburn. "Damn it, fuck, not again," Fried cursed as he glared at Irina while him and Galilei jumped back. "Fried, I believe we should leave, we're all outnumbered here," Galilei said as Fried smiled. "You got it, one escape route coming up," Fried called as he held a small item. "Don't let him," Kisk called out as he sent a summoned sword at Fried, who leaned back to avoid it before throwing the item down to the ground, causing it to go off. Soon once the light died down, Fried and Galilei were gone. "Quick," Kiba called as he chased after where they may have went accompanied by Kisk. Zenobia and Irina were about to give chase, but Zenobia stopped Irina. "Don't," Zenobia said harshly as she glared at her friend. "I'll go myself, but when I return I want the full story from you Nephilim," Zenobia growled as she was clearly taking that betrayal very hard before leaving. "Zenobia," Irina called as she saw Zenobia leave. Soon Issei sighed as he looked. "We got company," Issei said as the red-haired girl stood protectively before Issei. "More enemies?" she asked holding her daggers at the ready. "No," Issei said as he needed to figure out where this red-haired chick came from. Soon from the 2 portals came Riaz and Akeno from the Gremory one and Sona and Tsubaki from the Citri one. "Before you ask Riaz, let me explain," Issei said as Saji looked scared. "I forgot Issei gets off scot-free being Ria's master and all," Saji thought as he was scared of Sona. Later inside, "My apologies Lord Sparda, I did not know this Gremory Nephilim was your fiancé, please forgive me Lord and Lady Sparda for my unwarranted defensive," the red-haired woman said as she kneeled before them as Riaz was confused. "It's okay, all is forgiven," Issei said as he had no clue what this girl was rambling on about. "So you don't know who she is?" Riaz asked as she let the Lady Sparda name go for now, since this girl did aid her fiancé Issei. "My apologies Lady Sparda, I failed to introduce myself to you and Lord Sparda," the girl said before she stood up and did a small bow. "My name is Lucia, my family has been the elite guard to the Sparda heads and heirs for generations. When Sparda was confirmed dead we feared we lost our purpose, but when Inferno received word that Sparda had 2 heirs I was sent to seek you out," Lucia said as she looked to Issei. "Wait, so you're my bodyguard?" Issei asked as Lucia nodded. Yes, Lord Sparda, it's a pleasure to meet you face to face. I will provide you with anything and everything you may need or ask for. Lucia said as Issei scratched the back of his head nervously. Oh, thanks. Issei said as Lucia then presented a letter to Issei, who read it. Issei, if you have received this, then the girl had made it to you in one piece. Please recruit her as soon as possible. I had received a vision involving her that she will be a great help to you in battles to come. So until we meet again, happy hunting, my master. Phineas. Issei read as Riaz saw this. Yes, Phineas had asked me to make sure I was recruited into your brood, Lord and Lady Sparda, and if I must, I am willing and ready to aid in the revival of the Nephilim faction. Lucia said with a bow as Riaz and Akeno scanned the letter and saw it was in fact Phineas' seal and his handwriting, as it showed no trace of forgery. Well, this is legit as far as I can confirm, so this girl is in fact who she says she is. Riaz said as Issei looked. Please, Lord and Lady Sparda, I was raised and trained my whole life to defend the Sparda household and all its incarnations, so please recruit me into your brood. Lucia begged as she was ready and able to serve. Riaz looked it over as she very rarely had met a devil wanting to be recruited save for Ravel, who was recruited into Riser's peerage before she was told to join Issei's brood. Issei, we need to think this through. She's obviously a devil full blood and all, but we don't know if she is who she claims she is. Riaz said as it could be anyone before he sighed. But Phineas, who was my dad's chief advisor, says she's trustworthy, then I say let her join. Issei said as he sighed. Thank you, Lord Sparda, I shall make it my top priority to provide you with everything and make sure you do not regret my recruitment. Lucia said with a smile. Soon Saji was heard screaming out in pain as Issei looked and laughed at him, as Asia had already been sent on ahead since the job was a bust. That has got to hurt. Issei said as he saw Saji was getting a devil power spank. Normally I do the same to Kaneko, but I recently discovered a bit of a problem. Riaz said as she sighed. What? Kaneko asked as Riaz looked. My powers and magic has a trace of angelic power in them, so I can't exactly provide the spank without hurting you unintentionally. Riaz said as Issei shrugged. That a demon paddle that can work. Issei said as Riaz then slapped him upside the head. Okay, I get it, never butt in on your peerage. Issei said as he sighed. Just give her the brood shard, Issei. Riaz said as Issei shrugged to his dark slayer. Right now I can only give you the Royal Guard one, since I'm saving the gunslingers for a real diamond in the rough. Issei said as the Royal Guard shard appeared. That is acceptable, Lord Sparda, I will be protecting you a lot. She said with a bow as Issei nodded. Okay, then we're in agreement. Issei said as the rest was history. Scene break on the way home. Issei, Riaz, and Irina were walking home as Issei sighed at their new stalker brood member bodyguard as Riaz looked at her hiding behind a flagpole with binoculars. So what are we supposed to do about her housing problem? Riaz said as she sighed. We don't exactly have the room for all these people you keep bringing in. Riaz said as she looked to Issei. I don't know, we move them to my office. Issei asked as Riaz's face palmed. Normally that would be a good idea, but you forget that it's basically that an office. If you let them take rooms there, Rodin will charge you some rent. Riaz said as Irina looked. Well, can't we just get a bigger house or take up rooms in the subspace apartment? Irina asked as they passed Lucia, who was in the bushes now. I don't know, I'll think of something. Issei said as those apartment rooms can't last forever. They soon arrived at the house, but before Issei could open the door, Asia and Ravel answered it, both of which were dressed in naked aprons. As Issei and Irina were wide-eyed soon, Murayama and Caddis showed up dressed like sexy maids, as Issei twitched before he gained a grin. Jackpot. Issei said as Asia didn't hear him and smiled. I heard you guys had a late job, so I decided to cook dinner tonight. Ravel said, her face just screaming Tsunade. Yeah, and while you guys were gone we decided to tidy up a bit here and there. Caddis said as they soon saw Irina. Irina-senpai. They called as they took Irina's hands and dragged her inside. It's been years, you have to tell us everything. Caddis said as she took Irina's left arm. Yeah, what was Europe like? What was it like at the Vatican? Give us details, girl. Murayama said as they still held the feather duster as they walked inside. But I'm glad you're all back. Asia said as she smiled. So I'll get started on dinner. Asia said as Ravel began to leave to get the things ready. Lord and Lady Sparda, who are all these girls? Lucia asked, surprising everyone. Okay, Lucia, these girls are my brood members. Issei began as he then looked to the girls. Girls who are my brood members, this is your newest member, Lucia. She's now our last royal guard. Issei said as the girls saw her. Nice to meet you, Lucia. Asia smiled as she saw Lucia. Another rival, why does Issei keep bringing them in? Asia mentally wondered as she saw this. Great, another rival, damn it, how am I supposed to build a house phoenix for the Nephilim faction if the only pure-blooded Nephilim is bringing home a new girl every other day? Ravel mentally yelled as she knew Irina was here before all of them. So Issei, any requests? Asia asked as Issei looked. Make anything you feel like. Issei said as Lucia was confused. Is this apron and the clothing those other two were wearing required uniform? Lucia asked, confused as Issei and Asia were shocked. Required uniform? Riaz asked before it hit her. By the Satans, this girl is more innocent than Asia. Madame Butterfly said as Riaz couldn't help but agree. I can't believe it. Riaz said as he saw this couldn't be right. Lucia, you do know where babies come from, correct? Issei asked as Lucia nodded. Of course, it's when two powerful people, a male and a female, mate to combine their immense power to conceive an even stronger offspring. Lucia said as she looked to the brood. Okay, maybe not innocent but more along the lines of power naive. Riaz thought before she remembered something, which was what Asia was wearing. Impressive though, Asia unravel. Riaz began as she looked to Asia with a smile. It's simple yet quite effective. Riaz said as she clapped her hands together as the two cosplaying maids were with Irina in the other room, talking to her about her journey down in Europe. Well done. You are going to be a sexy and powerful Nephilim one day when you get your own brood, the Argento clan of Nephilim. Riaz praised Riaz. And Ravel, you're well on your way there also, so be proud of yourself. Riaz said with a smile as Issei looked skeptical. Does my godmother know you two are wearing this? Issei asked as there was no way his mother could not notice. But what if I don't want to be sexy? Asia asked as Issei looked. Then go change, we can't have my godmother see you all like this. Issei said as soon Mrs. Hyoudou was heard. Too late, I saw and helped them the entire time. She said from the doorway as Issei was wide-eyed. Oh, then no problem them. Issei said as Riaz then spoke. Mother. I would also like to wear what Asia and Ravel are wearing. Riaz called out as Mrs. Hyoudou smiled. No worries, I got plenty to spare, let's go find one for you. She called with a smile on her face. Wait, do you have more of those clothing Lord Sparda's other brood members were wearing? She asked as she looked to Mrs. Hyoudou. Sure do, Han, come this way then. Mrs. Hyoudou said as Riaz then passed by Asia and Ravel. But Riaz, Ravel, and Asia. Oh, by the way. Riaz began catching Asia and Ravel's attention. You two were very close to outdoing me here. You should be proud of yourselves. Riaz whispered to them as Ravel glared as Asia was smiling and saying her thanks. Thank you. Asia said with a smile to Riaz as Ravel glared while wearing her Phoenix theme apron. Just you wait, I'll outdo you yet. Ravel growled as she glared at Riaz. Back to the event at large, I shall wait till confirmation. It seems Lord Sparda may be having some problems in his pants. Lucia said as Ravel and Asia looked before they blushed deep red at that. But I need make sure it fits. Mrs. Hyoudou said before they somehow grabbed Lucia and began dragging her away. Well, this is awkward. Issei said as Asia and Ravel had an idea. Here, let me help. Ravel said as she went towards Issei pants. Seems your large friend here is struggling. Ravel said as Issei was wide-eyed. No, let me, I can help it better. Asia said as she had Twilight healing ready for this as the two began to struggle in a wrestling way as Hades saw this. Should I get involved because this looks fucking hot? Issei thought as Ravel was restrained before the Phoenix Nephilim smirked and used her teeth to grab Issei's zipper, causing him to go wide-eyed. No. Asia mentally called out as she tried to stop Ravel, but it was too late as soon Asia jumped up and a short tussle began. After the tussle, warning, short lemon lime is about to start, I repeat, short lemon lime is about to start. Ravel smiled as she now had Issei hard member as she smirked at the downed Issei, who Asia had somehow pinned in the tussle. Victory. Ravel called as Asia looked. Wait, how did I pin Issei? Asia asked as Issei cried out in surprise as Ravel began to give him the blowjob. The bad for you, Asia, I win this round. Ravel said though her voice was muffled as she gave Issei a blowjob. No. Asia cried out as she saw she lost. Fuck, how did this happen? Not that I'm complaining, but what the fuck? Issei called in his mind. Don't worry, I read all those books you kept hidden, Issei. Ravel said, freeing her mouth. It wasn't hard really, I did have a few things from home to practice with. Ravel said as Issei found she was stumbling over this a bit. Damn, her technique could really use some work. Issei said as Ravel smiled as she felt the pulsing of his hard member get heavier. Come on, hurry up and blow before Riaz gets back, you fucking hot piece of Nephilim. Ravel thought as she began to bob her head. Hey Issei, did you make these? Asia asked as Issei was wide-eyed to see Asia holding ebony in both her hands, like that strip did back in Limbo City, before the chaos really started. Aw. Issei called out as Ravel felt Issei come into her mouth, as she had planned this ahead, as she swallowed it all using her magic to help as soon she was done. And lemon lime, I repair, and lemon lime. It's oddly bitter, but with the odd taste of strawberry sundaes and pizza. Ravel said as Issei quickly got his pants back on, and his dick hidden as Asia glared at Ravel, who smirked. Point 1 Ravel. She said with her eyes to Asia as Asia glared at Ravel, but with a cute pout sort of way. Okay, why me? Issei asked himself as he wanted the harem, but now the girls are fighting over him. Soon Riaz and Lucia walked in as Lucia was dressed in a maid outfit while Riaz was in the naked apron as well, but hers had a heart on the chest going over her boobs. So what do you think? Riaz asked as Issei smirked. Oh yeah, that's why. Issei thought as he was in heaven. Later in the kitchen area, Asia, Ravel, and Riaz were cooking dinner together as they seemed to be getting along as they agreed to make something fast and easy since it was so late. Mrs. Hyoudou laughed at this as she remembered how Sparda had wanted his own harem before he settled down with Eva. Ah, the son lives the father's dream. Mrs. Hyoudou said as she then laughed. Plus it's almost like you have 6 or 7 wives. Ravel said as Murayama and Cadis were cleaning around Issei with Irina and Lucia's help as Issei was trying to make it look like he was reading but saw 3 half-naked babes in the kitchen cooking. Issei thought as he saw the 3 other girls fixing up the house a bit. 3 maid babes cleaning up the house. Issei's thoughts continued as he then looked to Irina. And 1 babe cleaning while thinking of all the adventures she had in Europe. Dad, if you were here you would probably freak. Issei thought as he saw this go on. But Kaneko was at home as she was eating her sweets before she looked at her familiar Shiro who muted her. Should I become a Nephilim? Kaneko asked herself as she knew so long as her sister Kuroko was a Nephilim she didn't stand a chance against her. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.